Deep Shot Podcast, Season 4, Episode 42.
It's got to be Jackie Robinson. A couple honorable mentions. Ronnie Lott, NFL Hall of Famer, wore number 42. Dion Dawkins, it says he wore 42. Did he wear 42?
The lineman, the tackle for the Bills?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that doesn't seem right, but that's what it's like. That's what Google AI is telling me.
Yeah. Google AI, dude, they be messing up sometimes.
Okay, so Dion Dawkins wears number 73. So I'm not really sure what they're talking about. Let's make sure Ronnie Lott was right. Ronnie Lott is correct. He was actually 42.
Well, welcome to another episode of the Deep Shot Podcast. Hope everybody had a happy new year. We're back after the long week. Had to celebrate. A lot happened this week, all right? The college football quarterfinals. We're wrapping up NFL Week 18 as we're recording right now. So we're going to recap all of that, make sure we get everything we missed this week. Transfer portal opened as well. We won't talk about that as much today, but it is getting hot. So just wanted to get back on here. Good to be back. Thank you guys for listening. Before we get started, wanted to always, as a remind you, follow on Instagram and TikTok. If you haven't been following on the Instagram, it's been like 2.5 million views on the profile in the last month. I mean, we have been hit banger after banger. All right, you're getting the great content. The followers are going up. We're at 2,300 now. Just keep it going. Let's try to get to 2,500 by the Super Bowl. Tell your friends if you're following on Instagram, make sure you're followed on TikTok. Subscribe to the YouTube, all that good stuff. We had an appearance from Jake today on the Instagram. He said we were going to get one after the game too. Didn't get that, but we did get him before the game. We did get him before the game.
Thought about that as I was in traffic leaving the game. I was like, damn it, I meant to make a video.
Dude, we'll take what we can get. But hey, make sure you guys are following. Also, want a big announcement. February 8th is the Super Bowl, all right? And as everybody knows, the day after the Super Bowl is the last episode of the season for our Deep Shot podcast here. But so on February 1st, we're going to do a first time ever Deep Shot season awards. It's going to include some of our best takes, some of our worst, some of the funniest moments from the football season, including press conference moments, ref shows, all of that good stuff. So mark your calendars, February 1st. All right, that is when we will be recording. It'll be out that night, February 2nd during the day, the Deep Shot Season 4 Awards Show. Very excited about that. How excited are you guys about it?
I'm really pumped. I think we have a lot of good stuff to go off of. I think early favorite for take of the year is me at the dog park saying that DJ Lagway wasn't that good. I'm just putting my hand up. I think that's the take of the year. I don't know. I think that's a good one. I think the worst take of the year might be Caleb saying that was the worst take in Deep Shot Sports history. So just throwing those ideas out there. I will say this. This is a challenge for the listeners. If you're listening to this right now and you have an idea in your head, hey, shoot us a message. Let us know. We'll think about it. No guarantees, but if it's a good one, we can maybe throw that in there.
Yeah, it's exciting to just celebrate kind of like the year in review. It's been a huge year for the podcast, all the things that we've gotten done, all the new listeners, you viewers, all the content, all the, interactions we've had with fans and everybody alone. Like, we need to put it all together and wrap it up in one big bow and present it to the people that have listened all season long.
Yeah, really excited to do that. So with that, let's go ahead and start recapping what we missed over the New Year's week. We'll start in college football, talk about the college football quarterfinal matchups. Let's just go in the order that they were played. Let's start on New Year's Eve. Miami 24, Ohio State 14. And I can't remember. I don't think any of us predicted Miami to win the game. Did anybody do that? I don't think so.
I said they would cover.
I did say we all said they could cover.
Yeah.
I think we all, so how about that? All went 3 for 3 on the cover. Should have took the money line as well. But again, 24-14 is the final there in the Cotton Bowl. Maybe the most surprise. I mean, these quarterfinal matchups, there was obviously 2 blowouts. This one was not the most competitive, but the second most competitive game. But really the story of this game is, it seems just like in a little bit different way because there's more points scored in this game than the A&M game. But I mean, Carson Beck doesn't do anything flashy. Miami offensively just does what they have to do. They don't turn the ball over, and Ohio State gets sacked 5 times by that Miami defensive line, which we talked about was going to be an issue for them. Miami runs for about 100 more yards than Ohio State does. Ohio State can't get anything going on the ground, and just play the big plays that needed to be made time after time after time. Miami was making that. Miami didn't commit a single penalty in this game, won the time of possession, did all of the little things right in this game. And it seems like in these types of games where that's more important than ever, right? Special teams, turnovers, time of possession, like these things are what wins ball games, explosive plays. Those things happen. And really, you could say the pick six that made it 14-0 was really a huge, like, uh-oh, here we go moment. Props to Ohio State for fighting back. They did get in there. They made it a 3-point game, but when the nut crunching time happened, Miami just went down the field, got their keys out, went on a drive, and ended the game in Texas. And probably the most shocking result of the weekend. Just in terms of this, obviously it was the biggest spread. I don't think a lot of people thought, well, Miami's just going to go out there and win the way they did and dominate as much. It was obviously talked about all week that they probably maybe had the matchup on the lines of scrimmage, but to be as dominant as they were, I was surprised by. I thought Ohio State at least would have something. Now, here's something that I don't even know how much we mentioned it last week, but the more we got close to it, the more after the game I thought about it. Like Ryan Day saying, "Hey, I'm calling the plays." Brian Hartline, you've got other things you need to go worry about. Maybe that had something to do with it. All right. The offensive coordinator all season long was Brian Hartline, and they took the play calling away from him, and the play calling just wasn't there. Like I said, they could not run the ball at all on this Miami team. But props to Miami for showing up, getting the win. Another bad day for the Notre Dame crowd that said Miami shouldn't be in the playoffs. They're one win away from going to the college football national championship.
Yeah. So I will say this. So no, none of us three sat up here and said Miami's going to win this football game. We didn't say that. But one thing we have been saying consistently since Miami got into the playoff is this team has the talent and the DNA to potentially win a championship. They have a very good defense led by Ruben Bain, who I think might be the best player still left in college football playoff. That guy is involved in every single play that Ohio State was trying to do. Ruben Bain was in the backfield. They have an experienced quarterback in Carson Beck, and you said it. He didn't light the world on fire, but he played a pretty dang good game. I mean, he was pretty efficient, 19 completions, only 7 incompletions, $130 in the air, didn't turn the ball over, and got a touchdown. He played the game he needed to play. And then, lastly, they have a great run game. That carried over from the Texas A&M game because that was basically the only thing they could do against the Aggies. They run for $150 and a touchdown. Mark Fletcher adds 90 just by itself. While we didn't necessarily expect Miami to go out and win this game by 10 points and did control the game from start to finish. They were leading this game. I can't say I was necessarily shocked like what I was seeing because, listen, we've been pretty critical on Julian Sayin all year. At least I know I have. Saying, what is he doing that's all that spectacular? Yeah, awesome. He's completing 80% of his passes against Northwestern. But what's going to happen when he starts to play Michigan and then he plays Indiana and then he plays Miami? Look at those stats and then compare it to the rest of the season. They are not nearly as glamorous as they looked during the chunk of the season. I'll say this, Jeremiah Smith, good game, 7 catches, $157 and a touchdown. He had that 59-yard play, the really long one. He had a lot of empty yards in this game, which I know like it's kind of a fake stat, in a way, but it's like I just am so puzzled by Ohio State's use of him and Carnell Tate because I feel like if I was calling the plays, I want to get the ball in their hands as much as possible. Julian Sayin threw the ball 35 times and only 10 of them were to Tate and Jeremiah Smith. Like, why is that where we're going a quarter of the time? Why is that what we're doing? If I was them, I'd be forcing the ball to them. Run some jet sweeps, run some quick screens. It doesn't all have to be down the field. Just get the ball in your playmakers' hands and see what they can do. Because maybe they can break one, like Jeremiah Smith did on his 60-yard play. That's my biggest takeaway. Because you can say what you will about Jeremiah Smith. Like, yes, he did have a good game. Carnell Tate, 3 catches, 37 yards. You got to get more out of him. Have to. And last thing I'll say, when you have a guy like Ruben Bain on the defensive line wrecking havoc, get the ball out. Like, take him out of the game. Like, you'll see, like, when teams play Myles Garrett or just, like, really any dominant interior defensive lineman and they need to get offense, the best thing you can do is just get the ball away from them. Just snap it and get to the outside. Make their corners, make their safeties make plays. Don't let the best player on the field just completely dominate how you call the plays.
Well, still, though, hats off to how Miami played though on defense. Like, they were able to kind of strangle Ohio State in that regard in some aspects. I mean, I remember a couple of times they tried jet sweeps for like perimeter screens and it would just get stuffed there at the line because they were that physical.
One screen was a pick six. So
correct.
That is true.
Correct. Harrison's stat about the penalties, I noticed that after the game because I was at a party we watched it together, and one of the guys that was there was an Ohio State fan and said something about it, and I like, that seems very unlike a Miami team. That is very, very impressive. Hats off to Cristobal to be able to get that accomplishment. because for that brand to do something like that with Michael Irvin barking on the sidelines and crawling around, you would think they'd get a penalty sometime or another.
Yeah.
But they survived this one. Look, you had Ohio State run for 45 yards. Okay. This is Ohio State. This is supposed to be like the Ohio State, the team that everybody thought was invincible in week 12 of this season. And they come out and just lay an offensive egg. And then, Sand makes a crucial mistake on throwing a pick on a screen, which, I mean, saw it from a mile away. No, I'm usually the guy to say this guy should have blocked the DB in front of him, and he just made a hell of a play and jumped it. And Sand probably should know not to throw that ball. Compound that with, another instance of a kicker missing wide left on probably the best drive of Ohio State in the entire game. Kind of deflated whatever mo they had going into the fourth quarter, because they had, it was 14-0 at halftime, but they were this close to making it a one-possession game at one point. They missed field goal after finally crossing what felt like the 50 for the first time.
That was
That
right
just
before
kind of
half.
took all the wind out of the sails, But look, most impressive thing about this one, the last drive of the game, like what you guys were talking about, there was a couple of plays where they were second and 10, I think, or 3rd and 3. And they threw the ball both times with Beck, and they were completions. One time they threw it to the back, the other time they threw it to the screen to Tony. They got some balls to be able to do stuff like that, and to go down there and just kind of walk into the end zone because you had to let them score, just taking the absolute will of the team. Very impressive out of Miami.
Yeah, super impressive win, and to be getting into the playoffs by the skin of their teeth after sitting there all leading up to the playoffs, not knowing if they were going to get in, thought they might get screwed, and to be in this situation, props to Miami for sure. Has looked really good, and we'll talk about who they'll play here in a little bit. But Oregon and Texas Tech played in the Orange Bowl, and we all said Oregon was going to win, right? And I think we all the game played out in the way of how we said it, right? It was going to be Texas Tech was going to be able to match the defense, like on the defensive side, they were going to be able to match the physicality of Oregon, which in all fairness to their defense, they did. Their defense was the reason they even had this game in close in the fourth quarter. And then Morton, Baharan Morton, don't know how to say his first name. We'll never know. He did not do anything today for Texas Tech offense. And Texas Tech offense in general could not get anything going. And that's where we kind of had concerns, right? Like the defense all year long for Texas Tech has made plays, and the offense has been playing Big 12 defenses. And, we all know that those not the skill players, but the guys up front in the Big 12 do not match up with the guys you're going to play in the college football playoff. It just doesn't happen. And for Oregon to really they only had 64 yards rushing this game. So Texas Tech did their job up front, but they could not do anything offensively. It seemed like anytime Texas Tech had a positive play, it was responded right back with a turnover or a sack or something of that nature that just went in the total opposite direction. Kind of just disappointing for them to come out that way and not be able to muster up anything. Putting 0 points up in the college football playoff is quite embarrassing after coming off, all that time rest. But I can't say I'm that surprised that Oregon went out there and dominated the way they did. I didn't think it was going to be a 23-point victory, but I did think that Oregon was going to have the guys, have the skill players to make play, have the quarterback advantage, which they did. And so props to Texas Tech's defense is what I'll say, but their offense, which we all questioned going into last week, if that was even going to be able to make any plays, they didn't. They made literally 0.
Yeah. I posed the question on last week's pod. I said, close your eyes and try and picture Morton driving down the field when they really need points. Do you see that happening? And we're all like, no, I can't see that happening. And this was a game. You look at the final score, 23-0. This was a game for the vast majority. 6-0 at halftime, 13-0 going into the fourth quarter.
Texas Tech was going into the red zone.
Yeah. If they could have just done anything that they could have potentially won this football game. But Morton finished the game with an 18 QBR. Caleb, you're a quarterback is that good?
No, I've seen better.
Yeah, it's not great. So yeah, so the buck kind of stops there, and Morton just was not able to elevate his team at all. I'll also say this: Cameron Dickey, Texas Tech's running back number 8, might have even been worse than Morton. He fumbled. He also, I think he allowed a kick to get blocked or something. I don't know. It's been a while since this game, so I can't remember exactly, but he made 2 really bad plays in this game. So number 8 and number 2 did not do Texas Tech any favor. But yeah, like Garrison said, Texas Tech's defense deserves all the flowers they get. They carried this team, and I don't know what their roster is going to look like next year, but if they're able to get a similar, showing of their defense again next year, and they can field a quarterback that can actually make plays, this program's going in the right direction. I mean, there's no question about that.
Absolutely. Look, I thought the depth of Oregon kind of made the difference in this game. You're talking about like how many snaps Texas Tech played. I think at halftime, Texas Tech was on track on defense to play 100 snaps in a game. And for those of y'all at home that don't understand how much that matters, like those guys get tired, especially if you don't have people that you're rotating in. And Texas Tech didn't pay, 10 or 12 players on the defensive front to play. They paid about 8 of them. So those guys got to play. They don't have time to rotate. And, Oregon also could play with a tempo and not let people get sub in or out. So that presents issues as well. They stood up 10 toes down, though, every time Oregon had a 4th down or a red zone situation. I mean, look, even if they made just a tad bit of plays on offense, like Jake said, first of all, Texas Tech's defense is not on the field that long. They're not that tired at the end of the game. They're probably going to even play even better. And also, Baron Morton, with the strip fumble or whatever, put them in such a bad spot in terms of giving them a chance to come back. They're just kind of done at that point. I think that Texas Tech is going to be kind of this is going to be a learning opportunity for them. They're going to spend a lot more money on offense next year. We can guarantee it. They spent a ton of their money on the defensive front this year in the portal and in the secondary, and it worked out. And even some of their guys on offense were transfer guys. They're going to spend big at quarterback. They're going to spend big at receiver, at least 1 or 2, and they've got to spend big at another skill spot too somewhere, whether it's a tight end or a tailback. And also, if you think that the way their offensive line is constructed could play against any front that presents itself, especially this late in the college football playoff, like Miami is probably better than Oregon up front. Oregon made Texas Tech look silly trying to block them the other day. They're going to have to reallocate their funds a little bit, but I think, like Jake said, they're in great shape. They'll be fine going forward.
There's the time-old saying of defense wins championships, which is true. But if your offense doesn't score a single point, it doesn't matter what your defense does. You're going to lose the game.
Yeah,
you're going to lose the game.
That is 100% a fact. You've never lied, Jake. Let's talk about the Rose Bowl. I mean, I don't know what else you need to say other than just an ass whipping, worse than the Texas Tech Oregon game. I mean, and this was the Alabama Crimson Tide losing 38-3 to the Indiana Hoosiers. I don't think you ever thought you were going to say that. Take me back 5 years ago. And when we had, hey, Indiana is going to play Alabama in the Rose Bowl, they're going 38-3. And let me just say this, other than the fact that this game was never out of that question for Indiana, the decline of Ty Simpson this season is astonishing, really. We go back to week 7, week 8. Alabama's in the midst of their little run. A lot of people are sitting on here saying, Ty Simpson is the best quarterback. Alabama looks like one of the better teams. And for that, and I thought all of that was true. I remember saying during that time that I thought, Ty Simpson looks like he has a lot of time. And it felt like over the year, the more defenses started to kind of figure out what they were trying to do on offense, that the pressure started to get to him. And you saw that multiple times. Like, you take away the 3 quarters in the Oklahoma game, like, he has not looked good for a while. And Indiana, I mean, to just put the foot down the way they did, Alabama was 3 for 11 on 3rd down, so they couldn't continue a drive. They had 11 first downs the whole game, so they couldn't even get a first down. Like, it was all these things go hand in hand. Fernando Mendoza making plays, the offensive line for Indiana, which got like the player of the game at the Rose Bowl, they absolutely dominated. Kirk Herbstreit at one point was just saying that Alabama just looks like they're standing there, which, a lot of people are going to question the Kalen DeBoer toughness. Like, that's been a huge thing. Like, how tough is Alabama? They haven't been able to run the ball all year. They still couldn't do it in this game. They really couldn't do anything in this game. Ty Simpson got pulled out because he got hurt. And so everything just went south. But, like, for the no fight, like, I get being down 17-0, and it's going to be hard to come back, especially at your quarterback. But, like, the defense was one thing that we thought, like, Alabama still has a good defense. And it just was nowhere to be found in this game at all. Just an absolute ass whipping. Nothing more really to say, like, to go into in-depth analysis of this game. It was just from start to finish, Alabama did not belong on the same field.
No, they absolutely didn't. So just a few stats from this game. So Alabama threw the ball 33 times for $170. Fernando Mendoza in Indiana threw the ball 16 times for 192 yards. less than half of the passes, and Indiana still threw for more yards. Alabama rushed the ball 17 times for 23 yards, a whopping 1.4 average yard per carry. 1.4. Indiana ran the ball 50 times for 215 yards. That's the difference in the ball game. And I mean, we're going to sound like a broken record again, and I'm glad after this segment we will never have to talk about Alabama's run game again. But they can't run the football. And that's why it's hard for me sometimes to be hard on Ty Simpson, because yes, he has regressed a lot throughout the season. But when you can't run the football and you have no threat of play action, that takes away a lot. That takes away a lot of what you can do. Those linebackers, every single time that you're sticking the ball back, they can just go ahead and go out, get after it. Takes away a lot, like I said. I did think Alabama was going to win this game on the last pod. I kind of stuck my chest out there and said I think Alabama was going to shock the world. They did not. What I thought was funny on game day is Saban was talking about his golfing buddies. We're all talking about how no, we're gonna kill Indiana. It's Indiana. There's no way we're gonna lose. I'd love to see them on the first tee box this morning. Like, what were they talking about now on it? You got to imagine this. Year 2 of Kalen DeBoer was probably better, I guess, than last year. Like they got to the SEC championship game, they made the playoffs. So like they can't say they did that last year, but as a program, they are trending in the wrong direction. You can't say anything else other than they are trending down, and it's just going to be interesting because like it's not like DeBoer's going to get fired. It's not like he's going to leave, but another year without a trophy, we're going to have to start having some conversation.
Knew it was going to trend down though. Well, I mean, that's pretty unfair to be like, okay, well, this thing's going in the wrong direction. Well, it's hard. Anything other than the top of Mount Everest on the earth is below that.
Or just not losing 38-3 in a year.
Yeah, that's the issue that I
and
have
not coming off losing 28-7 in your, like, you could argue the second biggest game of the season. I mean, you got dog stomped. I mean, that's why I think more than anything, like, yes, you're not going to be the Nick Saban Alabamas, but you're not competing as one of the top teams in the country, and that's a bad spot to be in.
I agree with you. I mean, go back and think about what they looked like in week 0, week 1, whenever they played Florida State. Georgia dropped an absolute egg. And a lot of people around the country were talking about, does this team even want to be here? Do they care about Alabama football anymore? And, the second half of Indiana showed you the same thing. They were the same team at the end of the season as they were at the beginning. And it's insane that they ramped it up to a point to where they were like 4 top 25 team wins in a row, 3 of them being on the road or whatever it was back in October. And then you crash and burn like this at the end of the season. Look, Indiana's front was good enough to just sit in there. They could rush 3 sometimes and stuff the run. It was insane to me to see that going on. And they were basically pass committing like what you would on Madden. Bama's got to rethink how they're just doing things over there, just in general. And just kind of like what Kirby did this past year. Kirby, it talks about it all the time. He said in the offseason, we said we're going to stop the run the fucking football. That's what we're going to do. Bama's got to do the same thing because there ain't never been a time at any point in our lives where Bama has not ran the football. Even whenever they were not competitive in 07, 06, 05, before that, they were running the football team. That's what they've done since Bear Bryant was there. There's just some kind of core belief to that. And also there's a reason why good teams run the football, because it's the most successful play you got. You got to do it. And if you come out and you're in the Rose Bowl and you run for 23 yards on 17 carries, you got to think that there's got to be some kind of change that goes on in the building. I don't know if they're going to be able to accomplish it in the portal. I mean, you can't really come across great offensive linemen like that just out of nowhere. You've got to, that's why I say it's got to be like a commitment to a philosophy change in the building. Like you've got to stamp it down and put it on the posters, put it on the urinal walls right in front of the guys when they're going to the bathroom. Tell them we got to run football.
Yeah, no doubt. And we didn't really say a lot there about Indiana, but great job, Indiana. You won. Cert Cignetti is no joke, and that team is no joke. Hope they lose to Oregon though.
They're the best team left in the playoff. I'm just going to say that right now. They are the best team left in the playoff. I'm getting close to the point where I'll be shocked if they don't go 16-0 win the national championship.
It is hard to argue against it. All right, time to talk about it. Georgia loses to Ole Miss 39-34 in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day night. I posted the video after and I said it, which again, I would never run for making content after a loss. Never done it. I know a lot of people like to see my pain. Got a lot of likes on that video, so thank you for your support. I was very hurt because we talked about last week that I said there was just no way that, if anything, no matter what the plays on the field were or like the execution of Georgia, the coaching of Georgia was going to win the day. And it just felt like it didn't. It really felt like, if anything, the players were making the players were the reason we were in the game more than the coaches were. Yes, Kirby had a balls on the floor, fake punt that happened, and that was awesome, and that kind of kept us in there, resulted in 3. But for the game to be going as it was, the defense making some stops, we get in the end zone, we get back, we take the lead, then we get a fumble. We're up 9. Georgia's up 9 points. That game should have been over. I mean, there was no reason in the world Georgia getting the ball coming out of half shouldn't have at least got a field goal, or even when they got it back again, they had multiple opportunities to make that a 2-score game. And from when it was 21-12, and then all of a sudden Georgia's down 34-24, that's just how does that happen? How do we end up in that situation? Yes, Trinidad Chambliss, he played a great game and he made a lot of great plays. I thought a lot of the stuff, in terms of not running the ball for Georgia, seemed like it was the best thing they could have done all game. And to get away from that, and to, just kind of be forcing deep shots down the field on 1st and 10 instead of taking our 5 or 6 yards, getting in second and manageable. There was a lot of situations like that that I wasn't a fan of. The Gunnar Stockton, I got online. A lot of people were upset about, how Gunnar was playing. I will never be upset about how Gunnar Stockton plays football. I mean, that guy just puts it all out on the line, got nailed. I mean, he might have been concussed in that game. I mean, that guy was getting absolutely torched. But going forward on 4th down, in our own territory, which apparently wasn't supposed to happen, but I don't know where the miscommunication comes from there. I mentioned not being able to run the ball. 3rd and 5, and we've got no safety over top when they beat us and put themselves in field goal range. Just a lot of stuff that really doesn't make sense to me. And I felt like, there was times where we had that chance to sack him and he runs around and makes that play. And the rush lane integrity of a DB sometimes really confuses me. Like, hey man, Everett, if you go this way where the other defenders are, he's athletic enough to turn back around. You need to go this way and force him into the defensive lineman. And if he can squeeze out of that, then okay. But if you're going to give him the whole other side of the field to run around on, then what happened will happen. And, I also thought running the ball, I thought with 50 seconds left, you have to run the ball. They have no timeouts. It's 3rd and 7. Yes, you may end up in a tie game. And I know he came out there and said, I don't believe in ties, yada, yada. Dude, well, then throw a screen. But the worst case scenario, man, is we're sitting there in a tie ball game with 20 seconds left. Like, that offense that Ole Miss has shown you all game long that they can beat you. And they did. And they did it again. They outcoached, they outplayed. Congrats to Ole Miss. And we talked about this, right when the playoffs started. I think Jake mentioned it. How cool would it be if Ole Miss could go win his national championship? And I will root for them to do that. And that's, really cool that they're in this situation. But as a Georgia fan, that was so disappointing. It hurts so bad to see us lose to a coach that's coaching in his 2nd ever game. Congrats to Pete Golden. Congrats to those guys. It's it doesn't hurt that bad to lose to Ole Miss. I'll say that. Maybe if we keep doing it, it'll start hurt really bad. But just disappointing. I never thought the way we lost was going to be the way we lost. I just thought, if anything, it was just going to be, I don't know. But I didn't think that, the amount of mistakes, the mental stuff was going to be where we got beat. And it seemed like we got beat a lot in that situation. The Ole Miss was really able to cause a lot of pressure. I still don't understand why Josh McCray gets touches. I mean, that harping on that all season long, things that coaches were doing. There's no reason he should be in that play and getting an outside run on 2nd and 10 that goes for -2. So just disappointing. And I'm not going to sit here and I love, people in terms of perspective, I get it, right? Georgia won the SEC 2 years in a row, and Georgia, it's in a lot better spot than a lot of programs are. And I'm very excited and grateful for that. And I'm going to say something here, and it might rub people the wrong way. But if you've never, as a fan, watched your team win a national championship, okay, you don't really know how good it feels, right? And so when you're that good and when you're expected to get back there and it gets taken away from you like that, and when I'm Jordan, and especially by a team that was not better than us, that it stings. It stings. And Georgia, we said Indiana Georgia had a cakewalk in terms of like not gonna have to play Ohio State, was gonna get to play against a quarterback they knew very well if they won this game, was playing a team they had already beat without a head coach. These things were lining up very well for Georgia to go to the national championship. A lot of people were picking them. Yeah. And it just stings, because I want another one. And, when you get that and you start to feel like, I'm not saying we'll never get one again, but you yearn for it. And if you've never had one, you yearn for it a lot, but you don't know what it feels like. So you have no clue like what your emotions will be like. And I know what that emotion's like, and I want it back. Okay. I want it back. It's like when you have it's like when you got a girlfriend and you love them and she breaks your heart and you yearn for that love again. If you never had a relationship in your life, you don't know what it's like. You don't, you just move on. Oh, my team went 8-4 again. Who cares? I need it. Okay. Yeah. And I'm sure at some point I'll get it. And I do think it's cool. And the last thing I'll say, I do think it's cool looking at the Final Four teams and going, wow, these teams are never here. That's very nice, right? Oregon's, sometimes there, but Oregon still has never won a national championship in the history of college football. So it's cool that somebody's going to get something they haven't gotten in a long time, but this game really hurt.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you hit it right on the nose there. It does hurt, and I think what you say is very true. Like when we beat TCU by 58 points, it felt like we were never going to not lose again. Like it was just every single year going to be us, and then we just back-to-back years losing the Sugar Bowl. It does sting.
Like not even winning a playoff game.
Yeah, that's the last playoff game we won was the national championship against TCU. And it's hard because like you said, like I am grateful for Kirby Smart. I'm grateful for the team. Like we are an excellent football team. I still think we are the best team in college football, like the best program in college football. Like I don't think it gets better than Georgia. Back-to-back SEC championship games. After this year, we will still have 2 natties in the last 5 years. Nobody else can say that. But you're right. I mean, I do feel like we were the better team when we were up by 9. I was watching the game, and I mean, I wasn't nervous at all. I wasn't nervous in the slightest. Like it was kind of getting to that point. It's like, hey, we're just gonna be able to go through the motions and win it. And I think that's what the problem was. We were up by 9 points, and we were coaching like we were up by 50. We were being way too conservative with the football, and we weren't bringing any pressure on defense. We were just sitting back and letting Ole Miss move the ball, and that's what inevitably let Ole Miss get back in the game. I will say this about the 1st and goal situation. It was 1st and goal in the 3. We're down by 3 points. You have to score a touchdown in that situation. Championship teams score touchdowns in that situation and go up by 4 points. In the discussion. Championship teams do that. Winning teams do that. Losing teams settle for 3 and try and hopefully we'll go to overtime. Now, I will say this because Garrison, I feel like we kind of came at each other's throats the other day, and I want to address this on the pod. Well, you kind of came at my throat.
Fair enough.
I do feel like sometimes it's hard, because, my thoughts are so articulate and thought out and all this. It's kind of hard to put them in just in a 110, character text message. I don't disagree with you. I do not disagree with you that us throwing incomplete pass in the back of the end zone and stopping the clock with 59 seconds was good. I agree. Like 100%, that can't happen. That cannot happen. But my thing is Kirby Smart says this all the time. At the University of Georgia, we will not be hunted. We will not be hunted. We will be the hunters. And I think if we throw a quick screen there, or we try and throw I love stick. I love the stick concept, 5-wide stick. That is my favorite play in football. I think if it's ran correctly, I think it's indefendable, especially inside the 5-yard line. I think there's an answer for everything a defensive throw to you. I would have liked us to do that. Try and throw it to an option route, quick slant, like a bubble screen, something. I do disagree with us trying to throw it in the back of the end zone, but there's also a part of me that looks back on the 13 games that we just saw of Gunnar Stockton and how many times in the 4th quarter he came through for us. So there is that we have a large sample size of give Gunnar an opportunity to win a football game for us, and he's done it every single time. So there's that part that's like, well, shit, like if he would have connected with, I think it was Dylan Bell in the back of the end zone, I mean, we would be kissing Kirby Smart's toes right now and just saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's my biggest thing about the play. But regardless, it shouldn't have even gotten to a 3rd and goal on the 8-yard line or the 7-yard line, wherever it was. We're on the 3-yard line. We should have been able to run it 3 times up the middle and scored a touchdown. That is end of discussion. because there was somebody in the group said we should just taken a knee on third down. And that's my thing, is that kind of sent me over the board. Because it's like, what are you talking about? If Kirby Smart decided, hey, Gunner, go out there and take a knee. Let's just sit on this thing, run it down, take a field goal, let's go to overtime. And then we went to overtime and lost. I mean, that's like a program.
If you missed the field goal.
What if you missed a field goal? Like, it's so many things that you just can't control. So that's my thing. It's like, do I agree? Hey, let's throw it to the back of the end zone and hopefully something happens. No, I don't necessarily agree with that, because there's a lot of risk that goes into that. Like, you throw the ball, three things can happen: completion, or you turn the ball over, or what is it? Three things?
And completion.
And completion, yeah. So two to three things that can happen when you throw the ball are bad. The one thing I cannot get over is after we kick the field goal and then we decide we're going to play cover 0 to a 3 wide receiver side and play 2-man on the tight end side. Like, what is that? What is that? We are playing press man on a receiver that wound up going for 156 yards in that game.
When the team has no timeouts and I'll say this,
keep in front of them. Like, if third and 5, if they get a first down,
that's 7 yards,
but who cares? Who cares? I can swat.
I could, and just to let Caleb talk, but if Jonathan Kessler's listening, I said before they even snapped that ball, I said they need to run it right here. And I said we need to kill the clock, because this is just this is too nerve-wracking right now. And here's the thing, we ran on him so well, and I don't even know what happened to Nate Frazier, but obviously he got hurt on that last drive that we were going on, which really hurt. But man, dude, who knows? Or screen the branch, just didn't. Which, again, thank God he was there. I don't know what Georgia's record would have been without him this year. But, Caleb, what did you think?
So, I want to talk about the third down call that you guys are talking about on defense a little bit. I personally am a little taken aback by the safety double covering the tight end on the backside. I thought, if anything, it should have just been free in the middle of the field, and maybe could have gotten involved in that ball. But I don't mind playing man in that situation. I think that is not a terrible call. And, Kirby even talked about it a little in his postgame, but it made such a situation like it's third down. Right? So if you play press man, you get incompletion, it's going to be fourth down, you get the ball back. They had all 3 timeouts, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're in very good shape to go down, do whatever you need to win the game in that spot, okay? Jake already said it. What is the motto up there? We came to hunt. We came to eat. That is a hunter's mentality, to put pressure on the quarterback and their players to make the best play, which, by the way, that route, that receiver caught it over Dalen Everett, who's going to be a first-round pick here very, very soon. So, I don't mind them doing that in that spot, and they're trying to be aggressive to get the ball back. And I understand what you're saying, that, they could just make them drive and let it bleed in a sense. But I think Kirby was so terrified of Trinidad Chambliss, honestly. And that is the one thing I was talking to somebody about it yesterday. I haven't seen Kirby Smart make funky decisions based on what somebody else is capable of doing. Like, you go and talked about he's the hunter. Okay. Trinidad Chambliss had him on his heels. They were making decisions in haste of him to not do it. Like, for example, they wouldn't even put that offense out there on the field on the fourth down call. It wasn't supposed to be snapped if they weren't trying to extend the drive. Normal operation, Georgia football, they'd just punt the ball there, I think. But they ran him out there. And then you had a backup center in there, and then the left tackle didn't even protect it. If he did, he probably would have got a first down. So, those kind of decisions I kind of found odd by Kirby, but I will say, in my defense, I told you guys last podcast that I said I think Ole Miss will keep it close. I was the only one to take them to cover, and I said Trinidad Chambliss is going to give you a 9.5 out of 10 performance, and it's going to have to keep it close. He gave you an 11. The last drive there at the end with those 3 play sequence where he flicks the ball to the player he's tackling in the backfield, then he does the whole spin around. Third down conversion. Then he chunks the ball down the field over somebody's head on a laser when he's scrambling again. I talked about his legs on the last podcast, knew it would hurt him, and that's what hurts Kirby every time he plays him. But let's give flowers to other players too now, because Trinidad Chambliss did play his ass off. And by the way, he's the best player in the tournament that can affect the game that quickly. Like, Ruben Bain is up there. I think Trinidad Chambliss changes an entire game. You can try and run away from Ruben Bain as much as you want to, or try and scheme away from it. But when Chambliss is on a heat check like what he was in that fourth quarter against Georgia, I don't think there's anybody that's going to stop Ole Miss. I'm just going to be honest with you. But Ole Miss's front played very, very well. They batted a bunch of Gunnar Stockton passes, I noticed, and they had some really big guys in there able to stuff the run a little bit. Gunnar Stockton also got assaulted multiple occasions in this game. Crazy that he got up. I did see something on Twitter today where at one point or another on the sky cam he lined up behind the guard to
left
try to take
guard.
the snap under center. So
That
maybe
was
he's
like
a
in the
little bit
first
out
quarter.
of
That
it.
was like the second quarter.
So it was a wild game to see Georgia lose a lead at that point in the fourth quarter and the third quarter whenever they had. I think it's probably the first one they've had in years and years. But yeah, funky decisions by Pete Golden at the beginning of the game, like to go for two. I thought that was odd, but it didn't come back to hurt him. I thought the missed face mask call in the fourth quarter that was Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to decide the game. That did not come back to roost. And you can say whatever you want to, but Ole Miss just technically outplayed Georgia in this game, I think. In the schemes and the calls, Charlie Wise called a hell of a game. So if you're worried about him being Ole Miss at LSU or where he's going to be as his time spent there, I think that system's intact. Pete Golden came out today and said that these guys are going to coach these guys. It's not like somebody ain't done this before. People have coached in two different spots in many other occasions in college football's history, so this is no different to them now. And they're just flying in and out, and they're getting their work done. But it's astonishing to me that Ole Miss has taken a bunch of flack. I'm so proud of them, and also, like you guys said, I'm rooting for them. I've told everybody since that game I'm pulling for them to win the national championship because they went through a shit ton, and they're knocking on the doorstep of. I mean, every game they play is the biggest game in their program's history at this point.
No,
So-
I'm 100% rooting for Ole Miss to win national championship.
So I do have a follow up to you, Caleb. So I don't I don't hate the idea of man in that situation. My issue is no safety help. Like that's the thing. Like if you get beat, you're cooked, and hey, you're in field goal range, and the game's over. Unless Dalen Everett did like almost have an opportunity to make the play of the generation, like the next play could have picked it off, which that would have been awesome. But that's my thing. Like if you're gonna play man and try and blitz them and make a mistake or throw an incompletion, like that's fine. No safety help is where I draw the line. Like that seems inexcusable to me. Like you have to have somebody back there to at least be able to affect the play on anything deep. And then last thing I'll say, Trinidad Chambliss, I feel like is still disrespected because there was multiple people the other day were like, we can't stop a D2 quarterback. First off, D2 quarterbacks are kind of sick. Like they're kind of awesome. But Trinidad Chambliss is not you don't say that about Trinidad. That is if you want to like call yourself a non-ball knower, then just say Trinidad Chambliss is just some D2 quarterback and like he's not good. Like that's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he was playing some of the best quarterback play we've seen probably the entire season in the second half of that game. And then also I think we need to put some respect on Pete Golden because I think we've been hearing a lot like, Ole Miss doesn't have a head coach or, which is technically true. Like it's not Lane Kiffin, but Pete Golden's won 2 playoff games. Lane Kiffin's never even coached in a playoff game. So I think we need to put some respect on Pete Golden as well because it doesn't seem like he's really making like these back-breaking mistakes that we were kind of expecting him to. Like the moment would be too big and he was going to screw something up. Georgia was the one screwing things up.
Yep. Hey, Pete Golden's got the third most playoff wins in history now. He's tied for third.
How about that?
I'm still. I know. You guys are disappointed by this whole result. Obviously, I think in my mind, I have a little show and tell. I don't know if you guys see that. I got a little show and tell here, but I didn't wear it. I thought about wearing it today. I knew you guys would be a little upset about it, and I will say just to the public, if you're a Georgia fan, I'm going to tell this to all my coworkers tomorrow. I ain't never rooted against you guys until the other night, and unless you played my team.
I've heard you say that so many times,
and it's just because like last year, more so the Ole Miss story was appealing to me, but also too like Georgia fans. Just a common fan. I'm not talking about the guys like us that actually know a little football. Like, hell yeah, y'all are good. But like some people talk reckless. I had somebody that was in a group. I was in a group message with somebody after the game, and they were like, "I wish I got paid that much to make bad play calls for my Bobo." And I completely expected. I don't understand why Branch didn't get the ball in that goal to go situation there at the end. However, you scored 34 points, so you got a defensive guru as a head coach, and nobody's going to complain about him or what Glenn Schumann's job was. I just think that there needs to be a recenter of focus, and people understand like, okay, well. You can lose a game. It's going to happen.
I'm not on the that's why I didn't really bring it up. Like I'm not really on that train of the fire Bobo, fire Schumann. Like now I did say like I do think coaches in that game hurt us more than the players did in a lot of spots, but I mean they got us there. I mean it's not like we lost 38-3. in the game. Like that game came down to the last second, and there's a lot of things now that you've lost that you can pinpoint and go, look, that didn't work out for us. But I mean, there's a lot of things that went right. So
you guys will be just fine, though. This is a very young Georgia football team. If you don't know, go look at the guys that were playing the most this year. Is a bunch of underclassmen. They're good if they can hold it together the next 2 weeks or during this transfer portal window. I think they're going to have a serious football team next year.
Yep. All right, well, let's move on. We'll talk about the semifinal games on the next episode. But let's go ahead and wrap up NFL Week 18. Started on Saturday. Panthers and the Bucks and the Seahawks and 49ers played on Saturday. Bucks win against the Panthers, but game's basically a wash because not only was it wet as fuck, and that makes it kind of a wash because it was like they were playing a slip and slide out there, but the game literally means nothing because the Falcons went out and beat the Saints today. And then the Seahawks beat the 49ers to clinch up the number 1 seed in the NFC last night. And wild scenario, we kind of talked about this a little bit before. Sam Darnold didn't play the best game in the world. He was pretty efficient, but nothing eye-popping. I was just more surprised because the 49ers offensively for the last month have been awesome. Like they haven't missed a beat. Brock Purdy's looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and that Seattle Seahawks defense just was absolutely no joke on Saturday night.
Yeah, so I don't have a ton to say about the Bucks Panthers outside of the fact that neither one of these teams are very good. And I kind of I just was expecting the Bucks to actually be decent, and they did win this game. And I do think like next week the Panthers are playing the Rams, I believe.
No,
I just saw
the 49ers.
Is it the Niners? Regardless, it's a 10-point spread. It's opened up. I did see that. It's already opened up as a 10-point spread. The Bucks, I feel like, would have a much better chance to win that game because the Panthers just kind of stink, man. Like they're just not very good. The Bucks aren't very good. Like I just want to, the Panthers are going to, I've been wrong before, but I just can't see a world where the Panthers actually come out and beat like a good NFC West third place team. Like I can't see that happening. Talk about the Seahawks Niners. So this was one that was interesting to me. Like sorry, Garrison Caleb, you're just gonna have to hear me say this again because we did talk about this before the pod. But I've been getting ready for the Niners. I was ready for the Niners to kind of put not a beat down, but win this game against the Seahawks. Because, Sam Darnold early in this game looked a little shaky. It just kind of throws me back to last year when he kind of fell apart. The last game of the season with the Vikings, then went to the playoffs against the Rams and fell apart there. And then a great season gets kind of washed away from the last 2 games of the year. And this didn't happen. And you look at the 49ers, like they're back healthy now. The only real person they were missing was, what was his name?
Trent Williams.
They're not Trent Williams. Florida guy, the wide receiver, Ricky Pearsall. The only real guy that the Niners were missing was Ricky Pearsall. Like on playmakers. And is Ricky Pearsall going to be the guy that's going to like be the straw that broke the camel's back and keep your offense from being one of the best ones in the league to now all of a sudden you can only muster up 3 points? Like that's kind of inexcusable at this point because that was a winnable game, and they would have been had a chance to have a home playoff game next week, and a lot was at the line for the Niners that they were able to pull off that win last night. They just couldn't do it.
I think it's a testament to Seattle's defense, man. Mike McDonald's got those guys humming. I saw Saturday, after that performance, Seattle is more than likely. I think they were well ahead of Houston in terms of DVOA. And Houston gave up a couple points today, so that's obviously going to drop. So Seattle's going to finish with the best defense in the league and the number 1 overall team DVOA as well for the season. There's only been 6 other teams in recordable history since the 1985 season that have both been the number 1 overall, number 1 defensive unit in DVOA. 4 of those 5 won the Super Bowl. The only one that didn't was the Ravens in 23 that lost to Mahomes in the conference championship game at home. So, this is an impressive performance. Obviously, expected more out of Brock Purdy coming in this game. I mean, he was still efficient, yet they just have no downfield threat out of their receivers. Some people are still wondering where the hell Brandon Ayuk is. Apparently, he hasn't even showed up in like a month and a half. They hadn't seen him, which is an insane side story to what they got going on in their season in the midst of hunting down a 1 seed. But look, San Francisco, say what you want to. I thought they were dead in the water coming in this year. I just thought they would regress a little bit, considering all they went through in terms of player loss and having to pay these guys and that guys, and then Brandon Ayuk situation being up in the air, and that's a huge waste of money for them in terms of their cap structure. But they came out and were smacking people at the end of the season. I mean, Christian McCaffrey was playing his ass off, and he had about 15 touches this game, but they just could never string drives together, and they were 3 and out so much in this game that Seattle just possessed the ball and ran the football very well. I think they ran for like 180 yards in this game. So Jake's got the sentiment that the NFC teams are unattractive now. I think it's clearly Seattle and LA's conference to win.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm just not in love with the Seahawks right now for whatever reason. Like I think it's the Rams. Like I think the Rams are the best team in the NFC. But then you also look at them and, they just lost on Monday to the Falcons. Like I get it. It's the NFL. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. The Falcons did also beat the Bills, but they did also lose to the Jets. Like they're not a good team. So I just know the NFC is just kind of wonky. Like I feel like you can look at the AFC and at least feel some sort of pulse out of multiple teams. But I feel like I think it's the Rams and the Eagles. I think it's Rams and the Eagles.
Yeah. I like the 49ers still too, though. But it's basically seems like the NFC East, or not the NFC East, NFC West might be one of those teams.
Yeah.
1 o'clock games on Sunday. A lot of throwaway games. A lot of games that meant nothing. Just to highlight a couple things. Browns beat the Bengals 2018. Myles Garrett, now it's a single season sack record. Joe Burrow definitely handed him on a silver platter. I don't know if anybody saw the play, but it was definitely just given to him. Maybe Joe Burrow didn't want to get hit, but it definitely seemed pretty simple for him to do. But congrats to him for that. That's pretty cool. Vikings beat the Packers. Packers basically just throwing a lot of things away. Didn't want to get anybody hurt. Justin Jefferson has 1,000 yards in every season he's played. So another one of those Mike Evans stories. Giants smoked the Cowboys 34-17. Didn't really see that one coming. I saw a stat that said like the Giants have like over the last 3 years won like 8 games, and like half of those are in week 17 and week 18 when they need draft position, and they just decide to do it, but they win that one. But Jake, you were at the Jags game. They win 41-7, and it looks like they have clinched the 3 seed in the AFC.
Yeah, gonna be the 3. Gonna be the 3. Was really hoping for the Pats or the Broncos to slip up tonight, but the Jags should be 15-2. Like if they would have taken care of this and won that game in Cincinnati, not like let Jake Browning just walk the ball down the field last possession of the game, then we win that one, and then we've all know about the 24-0 fourth quarter against the Titans. Excuse me, God, I can't get my words right. And we all know about that 24-0 run that the Texans went on in the fourth quarter to beat the Jags. So if both those games don't go, they're 15-2. But regardless, the Jags have to be thrilled about where they are. We are peaking at the right time. We have a home playoff game next week. We won the AFC South for the first time since 2022, the second time in Trevor Lawrence's career. Trevor Lawrence went over 4,000 yards for the third time in his career. Another 3 touchdowns for Trevor. The run game looks good. Multiple options at wide receiver, all looking good. Brenton Strange, the tight end, is looking really good. The pass rushes look good. The secondary is looking good. Had a pick 6 today. Just all around, the Jags are playing really good football at the best time that you can play it. The playoffs are all about who's hot. Like you can be the best team of the year, but like if you end the season kind of slow and you get into playoffs and you're not playing your best football, but you play against a team that's 9-8 but has won 6 straight and really rolling, anything can happen in the playoffs, and you can find yourself being the 1 seed and get bounced. I don't see that happening with the Jags because they're playing such good football. It's going to be tough in the wild card, though, because it looks like they're going to have the Buffalo Bills, and every time you play Josh Allen in the playoffs, it's going to be tough. So we'll see it. Regardless, you got to be happy. Year 1 of the Liam Cohen era, your division champions, win 13 games. You have a quarterback I think is having the best season he's had in his career. He broke Blake Bortles' single season passing touchdown record today with 38. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, 38 touchdowns and over 4,000 yards. That's a heck of a year. We were talking last week about how quarterback play in the NFL has regressed. 4K and 38 touchdowns is a great season. I don't care. They're playing 17 games. Great season. So, happy for the Jags. Cam Little hit a field goal today. Did y'all see how long it was?
Yeah, it was 6-7.
67-yard field goal. Kind of awesome.
I did not see that. That's incredible. I'm sure the stadium went nuts whenever that went on.
It did. Yeah, there's a lot of little kids sitting around us that may or may not have learned some new words today. But yeah, they did hear the 6-7.
Jeez.
That's fine.
All right. Well, so I'm trying to find like an actual breakdown of the final bracket. I don't see anybody that's posted this bad boy yet. And I see where you saw where Buffalo was a 7th seed. That was before today's action. But Jacksonville's going to have an interesting track to get through the playoffs here. You talking
Buffalo's going to be the 6th.
So how it's working out in the AFC, the Chargers are at the Patriots, 7-2. The Bills are at the Jags, 6-3. And then the Texans are at the winner of tonight's game. And then in the NFC, We have the Packers at the Bears, 7-2. The 49ers at the Eagles. That's going to be a banger. 6-3. And then Rams at Panthers, 5-4. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's important. I mean, we need that kind of context there. Jacksonville's going to have an interesting track to get through this whole thing. We'll see how it ends up shaking out. But, they have a definitely impressive improvement from what they did last year with Liam Cohen coming in, what he's able to do with Trevor Lawrence. And, how Trevor played towards the end of the season was actually remarkable to me, because I think we were talking like week 2 or week 3 was like, well, is he even the guy? Is he worth all the money that they give him? And yeah, you're right. I think that is definitely one of the best statistical years an NFL quarterback is going to have in the season this year. But let's save all that MVP conversation talk. That thing's over with, because after today, I think we can throw any talk scuttlebutt. You may have a point or two. I think it's kind of settled there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
All right. Couple other games. Texans are able to clinch, as we mentioned a minute ago. They beat the Colts 38-30. They're now the 5 seed. Bills obviously smoked the Jets 35-8. Big day for Mitch Trubisky, 4 touchdowns. Lions beat the Bears today, which you kind of figured the Dan Campbell team kind of going to go out there and fight in Week 18. And beat the Cardinals 37-20. Caleb, your Patriots win 38-10 against the Dolphins.
Yeah, it showed out. It was close at the beginning at one point or another. I mean, we were up 10-0 pretty quick, and then it became 10-7. But after that, we kind of ran away with it. Huge day out of Ramondre Stevenson. Andre was 7 for 131 today, 2 touchdowns. Travion had 2 touchdowns down on the goal line as well, so Drake May didn't have to do very much. But once again, 14 for 18, very, very efficient. Did everything he needed to do to win the game, and we made a run at the 1 seed, but we didn't get it. That's all right. I mean, if we could go back and play a little bit better against the Raiders in Week 1, we'd be the only 15-win team in the league this year, which would have been cool. But listen, man, I can't be more thrilled with what this whole regular season turned out to be for us. I mean, to go from at the beginning of the year kind of talking about, well, we'll see if Drake May can improve. I mean, there was not even much of a conversation. I thought we would finish second in the division out of everybody. I'd never in my life would have dreamed that we would win 14 games in the regular season this year. So very, very cool. Very, very cool to see.
All right. Well, the Broncos beat the Chargers 19-3, throwaway game. Raiders beat the Chiefs. Chiefs finished on a 6-game losing streak in the season, lose 14-12. Commanders beat the Eagles today. Eagles didn't really have anybody playing. A lot of people not playing today. So let's talk about them one last time for the 2018. The Week 18, 2025 season, the Atlanta Falcons, just like we predicted for months, finished 8-9. Win their last 4 games. We didn't even talk about their last win against the Rams on Monday night. Beat the Saints 19-17, put the Carolina Panthers in the playoffs. How about the Atlanta Falcons one last time?
How about them? I mean, we would be on this podcast talking about, oh my gosh, what a miracle. The Falcons somehow made the playoffs. Is if they just won one of these games, I'm gonna read off to you. Week 1, they lost to Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23-20. They lost on a field goal. They went 0-2 against the Panthers. One of them we lost by 30 points. We lost to a one-eyed Tua at home against the Dolphins. We lost to the Patriots in overtime. Excuse me, not in overtime. We lost to the Patriots by 1 point. We lost
missed the PAT in that one to tie it up.
Yep. We lost to the Colts in Germany in overtime. We lost to the Panthers at home in overtime. And we lost to the New York Jets by 3 points. If one of those games goes the other way, then we probably would have just lost one of the games that we won and would have still missed the playoffs. The worst part about this is just going to give Arthur Blank some confidence that he needs to run it back with Raheem Morris, and Raheem Morris will be back next year. And we're going to see the same thing happen.
Fact, of course, did not happen.
Start slow and then get a little momentum. Then we're going to lose 5 straight games. And then we're going to end the season hot. We're going to go 8-9. We're going to say, man, we were really close. Let's do it again next year. And then we'll do it again. It'll be too late. I had one of my coworkers texted me today and was like, man, you got to be happy about where you're at as a Falcons fan, because it seems like y'all have a lot of potential and y'all will be good next year. And it's like, man, I could see if you were in no way connected to the Falcons and watch them on a week-to-week basis, I can see where you can think that. It's not going to happen.
They've been saying that for years.
For years. One of my favorite moment for today's win over the Saints is Drake London scored a first quarter touchdown. And did y'all see his reaction? Spikes the football. He's pissed off, walks back to the sideline. Raheem tries to hype him up. He just walks right by him. And you can just tell that Drake's pissed off. He's pissed off because he knows what's happening. Like, he's like, the way we've played football over the last month is how we should have been playing football, and we lost 5 straight. And we're going to miss the playoffs. And here we are in a NFC South championship game that it doesn't even involve us, like we're just playing for the Panthers right now. And we need more attitudes like that. We need more attitudes because Drake's not satisfied with just, ending the season strong and let's get to the postseason. We can get to the off season. Let's rebuild and be stronger next year. He's not satisfied with it. And I love that because I feel like too many people just are. And that starts with ownership. It starts with Arthur Blank.
Yeah, I agree. Great point there. Great point. Well, that is Sunday night game is Ravens Steelers. Winner's going to be the 4th seed in the AFC, as we mentioned. Just real quick, who you guys got?
I've been rolling with the Steelers all year. I'm going to go with them, but I'm not sure. I feel like Lamar might have a legacy game.
They are 3.5 point favorites. The Ravens are.
I just don't trust Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers to do anything in the pass game worth doing. I mean, I don't think they're going to have anybody to throw to again tonight. I feel like it's the Ravens night.
All right. So, I don't know if you guys have been seeing me over here, like kind of writing stuff down, but what I was doing was going back and finding our preseason playoffs. Here we go. This is mine. In the NFC, 1 through 7, I had Eagles as the 1, 49ers as the 2, Green Bay Packers as the 3, Tampa Bay Bucks as the 4, Commanders as the 5, Lions as the 6, and Rams as the 7. So none of those were correct on the money. I think, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 teams, though. 4 of the teams made the playoffs. None of them were right where they're supposed to be. My AFC was the Ravens as the 1, the Bills as the 2, Chargers as the 3, Jags as the 4, Chiefs as the 5, the Bengals as the 6, and the Texans as the 7. Again, nothing right on the money there, but depending on the Ravens, we could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams correctly in that one. So, and my Super Bowl is the Eagles-Ravens. So again, depending on tonight, could be still alive. Jake, number 1 in the NFC. Eagles. Number 2, the Green Bay Packers. Number 3, the Los Angeles Rams. Number 4, the Atlanta Falcons. Number 5, the Detroit Lions. Number 6, Tampa Bay Bucks. Number 7, the Commanders. None of those are right on the money as well, but you're going to get 1, 2, 3 teams in. Correct. AFC, you've got Bills as the 1, Bengals as the 2, Broncos as the 3, Jags as the 4, Chiefs as the 5, Ravens as the 6, Texans as the 7. Again, not going to have any right on the money, but 1, 2, 3, depending on the Ravens, 4 and 5 correct teams. Your Super Bowl prediction is the Eagles versus Ravens as well. Caleb, Eagles, number 1 in the NFC, Rams, number 2, Green Bay Packers, number 3, Atlanta Falcons, number 4, Commanders, number 5, Bucks 6, Lions 7. None right on the money, but again, 1, 2, 3 correct teams in the NFC. And your AFC predictions were Bills 1, Broncos 2, Ravens 3, Texans 4, Chiefs 5, Bengals 6, Chargers 7, and there it is. Our first correct on the money. Chargers 7 seed, Caleb Spear. First one to get it, and that is 1, 2, depending on the Ravens, 3, 4, 5 correct AFC teams. So good job in AFC. Seems like we did pretty well there instead of getting them right on the money. Your Super Bowl prediction is the Rams versus Bills. So we had some nucleus there.
Yeah.
Had some nucleus there. No one picked the NFC South winner. I'll tell you that. No one picked.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, dude, so I was with somebody at the tailgate today for the Jags game, and he had a parlay that he placed before the season, the Jags and the Panthers, both to win the division. I mean,
probably paid the bills.
It paid really good. But I mean, talk about foresight. Like, who on earth saw the Panthers in August? Like, yeah, they're going to win the South.
Yeah. Congrats to him. Huh? All right. Players of the week. Last week, Derrick Henry did win. So I have now, I believe the total tally is me 7, Caleb 6, Jake 5. So we've got I'm trying to think about how many more we got of this. This is probably like we'll go to maybe.
We go to the Super Bowl. Go through, I think the last one we should do is maybe
like the
divisional round, maybe championship
round. Divisional round will be the last one.
Dude, y'all don't want to pick a player of the week for the Pro Bowl?
Yeah.
Oh, man. But all right, Jake, you're in last, so you got to go first.
One. Trinidad Chambliss. I mean, who else could you pick? I mean, he single-handedly knocked Georgia off. He had like almost 400 yards of total offense. Give me Trinidad and give me the win. So 7-6-6.
All right. Caleb, you can go.
I'm gonna take a little bit of a left turn here. We're gonna see how this works. This is just a play because that is the pick right there. But I'm gonna see if I can steal some thunder. Myles Garrett's gonna be my player of the week for setting the sack record. He only had one sack today, but I did see a tweet today. He had the least amount of snaps played to break the sack record out of the top 3. Michael Strahan actually played a lot more snaps, like 110 more snaps than him in the season.
That's really interesting because people will look at that and be like, well, he played an extra game. But that's interesting. And be like, well, he played 110 less snaps. That's interesting.
Yeah. So Myles Garrett this year on defense played 437 snaps, and he's got 23 sacks. TJ Watt tied the sack record. Was it last year or 2 years ago? He played 616 snaps. And then Michael Strahan, who had the record, had played 567 snaps. So, 120 plus more snaps played. Now, they do throw the ball a lot more nowadays. So let's give him that. But not much more than what Strahan was seeing in that time frame. So I think that's pretty fair game to say that he is a duly elected sack king.
Nice. I'm going with Mitchell Trubisky. 259 yards, 4 touchdowns today in the Bills game against the Jets. Mitchell Trubisky can be the Jets, I'll tell you that. All right.
I want to give a little bit of flowers. I didn't pick my guy, but Ramondre Stevenson today had 7 carries and 131 yards and 2 touchdowns.
There you go.
And 7 totes.
There we go.
But I like Myles Garrett. When you break NFL all-time records, you got to give some kind of award. Maybe it's a deep shot player of the week.
Yeah, that's good. It must be exciting, Caleb. You still got a team playing. I think that's what hurts most about the Georgia stuff is that I don't have a team playing anymore.
Hey, jump on the Jags bandwagon. I mean, why not? Jump on the Jags.
Come on, God. Come on. Hey, listen. This you just pull, if you sometimes in order to go forward, you got to go back. If you can't beat them, join them. That's what I heard. But I did think about that yesterday, that all the Georgia fans are just kind of, and the Bama fans. I'm going to be surrounded by
Tuesday night, though. Just watch it. I think, I don't know, the AP polls usually come out on Monday. I think Georgia's going to have that G logo is going to be a little higher than than that Gator Chomp logo.
Now, Chomp logo should be out of the top 25 at this point.
All right. Let's get into our deep thoughts before we get out here. I'll start off. Cause I was just kind of thinking about this and, I'm not, this is not an excuse. Obviously everybody won except for Indiana Indiana's the only one with a bye that have won. And I don't think like the time off is obviously annoying and they've been doing that forever, right? Like this has always been the bowl games are played weeks and weeks after the regular season, which is part of it. But what I was thinking in my head today is like, or maybe not today, but like, why is it that the top 4 seeds don't get a home playoff game? Like if you're going to make us wait, why does the teams that were the best teams throughout the country not get, why were the first round matchups not just those bowl games? Now, obviously those bowl games, are always played at certain days and that's why I understand that, but we're going to have to make some adjustments because there's no reason that the 4 best teams in the country shouldn't get a home playoff game. Dan Lanning even said it last week before they played Texas Tech that the game should have been in Lubbock, that, he was happy he was in Miami, but the game should 100% be in Lubbock because what's the point? You're not rewarding a team for having the best season if they don't so Ole Miss gets to have a home playoff game and Oklahoma gets to have a home playoff game and A&M gets to have a home playoff game for being that's like saying that the Bills should get a home playoff game this weekend or the Chargers or the Texans for what? Being good enough to get in, but not like one of the best teams in the NFL. They've got to switch that up. Like there's no reason going forward and however it'll work. And I know last week I went on this rant about how we need to make it more like the NFL. And I think it should because of this stuff like this, but the top 4 teams have got to figure out the way to get a bye or get a home game because Ole Miss had way more people in the stands than Georgia did in that game, which makes sense. Ole Miss is closer to New Orleans. It's it's a way bigger game. And, I'm not saying Ole Miss fans wouldn't have showed up to Athens, but there needs to be home playoff games for the top 4 seeds. Okay. Because it's a proven commodity right now that they're 1-7 and they are not really getting the advantage of being a one of the top teams. The seeding's already stupid. They already need to also do that, or they need to do the same thing the NFL does. Lower seed plays the highest seed. It makes no sense why it goes the other way. It makes absolutely no sense. I don't know why that was ever to begin with not set up that way, but yeah. I think the top 4 teams need to get everyone needs a home playoff game. It can't just be some teams get a home play. The first round gets to play a home playoff game, but the top teams in the country don't. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it makes no sense. And also, I hate the month off that these teams are getting. Like in the NFL, like, yeah, it's awesome that the number 1 seed gets a bye, but the bye is not a month. The bye is a week. That's enough time to get healthy, and you don't like get out of it's just a regular 1 week bye week, and then you'll be ready to play next week at home. So I have a potential solution that I want to know y'all's thoughts on. This is not my deep thought, just kind of going off of Garrison. What if bowls, because I'm going to be honest, and y'all might call me a non-ball lover here, but I have not been very locked in with bowl season. I haven't. Like I've watched some of these, like the good ones that have been like this past week. Like I've watched those, but like the bowls that are happening like 3-4 weeks ago, like I don't know if I watched a single snap. And just being completely honest here, what if the bowls were week 0, week 1? What if that was when we decided, all right, so bowls aren't really going to be a postseason thing anymore. You're going to end the season, and then if you finished, you had 6 wins, congratulations. You get the opportunity to start next year in the Birmingham Bowl. Georgia Southern's going to play whoever. You probably wouldn't have been able to use Georgia Southern as an example because they played App State. That's a conference game, yada, yada, yada. But like, look at the Michigan-Texas game. Like, okay, that's going to be week 0 next year. That's going to be your game. It's going to be that bowl game. You're going to play at Camping World in Orlando, and that's going to be how your season starts. Instead of it being kind of a pointless game at the end of the season, because even Arch Manning said it as post game conference, because he was like, yeah, no disrespect to the Citrus Bowl, but I have no plans on ever playing here again. If it was week 0, then it can be like a nice like jump start into next season. Like, oh yeah, let's go, big game that people are going to be watching them. And then with that, we can get rid of the month gap between conference championship week and then the first round of the college football playoff, and then having the college football playoff, and then having 2 more weeks off before we have these games last week. It should be championship Sunday or championship Saturday, conference championship games, maybe a week off, and then weekly we do the college football playoff.
And on top of that, like that idea is, not, I mean, it's fine to me, like, but really the problem is you can't. So I can't remember who said it, but you're trying to conjoin bowl games with the college football playoff, and we got to stop doing that. Like the Sugar Bowl and the college football playoff, they're not the same. It's just not, they don't conjoin together, right? And they got all these contracts with the Sugar Bowl and then the Orange Bowl and all these big bowl games that have to get, are supposed to be part of it. No, that just shouldn't be a thing. Like these bowl games we shouldn't just be like, well, yeah, it's these guys got to be a part of the big dance. Like, no, we should just be playing home playoff games until at least the semifinals. Like maybe if you want to go semifinals, we can start doing neutral sites at that point. I really think, again, said you last week, this thing needs to go more to like the NFL. If we're going to have a playoff, there needs to be more home field. These other bowl games, like the outside teams that don't make it, then I kind of like that idea. But like for, you think about the teams that are going to the playoffs, like they don't need to be playing in bowl games. That's what I would say.
I think the main issue you're going to run into on Jake's idea, you're talking about playing bowl games at the beginning of the year. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be kind of bitching about not getting an extra game of revenue. Like you're basically going to cut them off of getting another game of revenue, like a home game. Like Bama would like to host Oregon a time or two, or Indiana at home in week 0, week 1, and make a ton of change off of it. And like when those guys go to the Arlingus out in Dublin, like to me, that's a pseudo bowl game already. It's just played at the beginning of the year. The only thing that I think you could do regarding the big bowl games, because that's really the issue, right? Like we're not upset about the little bitty bowl games. Like those already only matter to you if you're a gambling addict or you just really love football. We're talking about the Sugar Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Orange Bowl, those kind of games. What if those games became the conference championship games of the major conferences? So like in my perfect world, the Pac-12's back. So then the Rose Bowl would be their conference championship game, and it would host their site. I think then you could say the Citrus Bowl hosts the ACC. I think the Cotton Bowl hosts the Big 12. I think the Peach Bowl hosts to the SEC. And then I think you can send the Big 10. You just either make something of a bowl game change where the location of the, say, Fiesta Bowl or whatever the brand is, they'd have to figure out the Big Ten. But I think if you lump those games into the conference championship games, you would get more out of it, and then it would eliminate the stress of us of being like, well, what are we going to do with the bowl games? Because, in all honesty and truth, these people like playing bowl games in the season. It's a huge part of tradition for college football, and I'm just terrified that if you take too much of this shit away that we've been doing for 70, 80 years, people are not going to like it. They're just not going. They're not going to keep up with it anymore.
Yeah, I do think it'd be interesting though. Like the whole like bowl games week 1, week 0. Like I think it would be. I think it'd be pretty cool. But I do agree. Like it is a dangerous thing. So my deep thought today, kind of have two. I'll make one super quick. I want to talk about the Cleveland Browns because the Cleveland Browns won a game today. They beat the Cincinnati Bengals on a last-minute game-winning drive from Shadur Sanders. And I'm just going to say this, man. I know I'm not the biggest Shadur guy, but you got to kind of feel like there's something brewing in Cleveland. They're going to be able to move on from the Deshaun Watson contract, going into the next year. They're going to have some money to play with. Harold Fannin, their tight end, looks really good. Maybe they can add some receivers for them. They already have a good defense. I'm just saying maybe the Browns might be decent next year, especially if the AFC North.
They're talking about firing Stefanski.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with firing Stefanski here, but I will say when Kevin Stefanski had a good roster, he was the NFL Coach of the Year. That's all I'm going to say. My real deep thought is I want to talk about first-year coaches in the NFL. There's a nice list of them, but I feel like coaches of the year this year, in my eyes, I see two options. Now, I understand there's more like in the betting markets and whatever, but if you want to ask Jake Johnson who he thinks coach of the year should be, I think it should be either Mike Vrabel or it should be Liam Cohen. Obviously, this is not Vrabel's first stop as an NFL head coach, but the first year with the Patriots. You look at Liam Cohen, this is his first year as an NFL head coach, first year in Jacksonville. Then you can talk about Ben Johnson, his first ever year as a head coach, his first year in Chicago. And all three of those guys I'm talking about took teams that were not just out of the playoffs, miserable teams last year. Miserable teams. The Jaguars were 4-13 last year. 4-13 his first year, and they're 14-3. You look at the Patriots. What was the Patriots' record last year? Were they 3-14?
4-13 as well, I think.
4-13, and they're 14-3 in 1 year. You look at the Bears. The Bears were a terrible team last year. They end the season, 11-6. They kind of started slumping a little bit, there at the end, but still, they're made the playoffs. They won the NFC North for the first time, since like the Jay Cutler days, or not Jay Cutler, when they had Mitch Trubisky and they had that Khalil Mack defense was the last time. But the quick turnaround. I don't know. I just wanted to give those guys some shine because it definitely, I feel like, Caleb said it a few weeks ago, and I'll be honest, that's one of the best things I feel like Caleb's ever said. It's really stuck with me. The college football, you can look at college football, it's like, yeah, coaches matter a lot, but it's about the players. The NFL is a coaches league. It is a coaches league. If you have a good coach and you have a good system set up, every team is talented enough to compete. Every single team in the NFL. I don't even care if you can talk about the Cleveland Browns. They are talented enough to compete. Now, is there a gap between them and the top teams in the NFL? Sure. Heck yeah. But it's a lot different than you're comparing, Georgia and, New Mexico State. It's a completely different ballgame. So just look at it. I mean, just you look at that and then you want to compare that with the Atlanta Falcons, who are going to stick around with, a proven failure at head coach. Look at some of these teams that are taking a chance on first-time head coaches and it's working out, and they're completely flipping their franchises around.
Yeah, you got to catch lightning in the bottle, man. If you get the right guy and the right people at the right time, all those teams that you just named as well have like up and coming budding quarterbacks that people wanted to throw away at one point too.
Yeah. I mean, you can even look at Kellen Moore, which is, I think, a hire that, some people were saying like it wasn't a good hire. The Saints I thought they were going to win 2 games this year, and they finished the season off good. They got Tyler Shuck, that people said was going to be terrible. You get him around a guy like Kellen Moore, who understands offense, understands quarterback play, and he looks like a good quarterback. It's interesting.
Kellen Moore.
Yeah. Then you also have Aaron Glenn and Pete Carroll. They're both first times with their team. That was not good. Not good.
Yeah, those guys are going to be on LinkedIn pretty soon, boys. It's going to be tomorrow. Just wait.
Do you think, just quick question, do you think Aaron Glenn gets the boot tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. I think that let's play that game before I get into my deep thought. Let's be my shallow thought. How many coaches get fired tomorrow?
I mean, I think
I
Pete
need
Carroll's definitely getting fired.
I think Pete
Carroll's
Carroll
gone.
has
Aaron's
fired.
gone. Huh?
Jonathan Gannon.
I think Jonathan Gannon's gone. I think that's a good.
What about
Stefanski. I think Zach Taylor gets fired tomorrow.
what about Todd Bowles?
I think he should. I don't think he will. I think he should. I don't think there's a ton in the
Mike
NFC.
McDaniel.
I think he saved his job personally.
That's a tough one. I guess there's a part of me that wants to say that he saved his job, but there's also a part of me that could see because they're going to move on from Tua. Maybe they just start fresh, move on from. But Mike McDaniel never wanted Tua in the first place. Like that wasn't his guy. He didn't draft him. He didn't draft him. That wasn't his guy. Yeah.
Loser of tonight's Ravens Steelers game.
No. Well,
Ooh,
Tomlin's leash has got to be getting tight. It has to. But that's when it's like, man, you fire him, and then you go to 4 years in the future, and you haven't made the playoffs in 4 years, and you have an overall losing record over the last 4 years. Them Steelers fans can look back and be like, maybe going 9-8 and 10-7 every year wasn't the worst thing in the world.
But you don't want to be put in that purgatory like that, though. That's Falcons talk. Come on, guy.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, fair.
My deep thought is going to be tied into the playoff as well, but it's not going to be built around the structure. And I can understand people are complaining about the structure itself, even from the coach perspective. Just having a long time off, like 9 days in between games, even if you play them all, or 12 days in between one game or the other seems a bit extensive. But lest we forget, guys, like when we were growing up, Notre Dame, and when they played Alabama in the national championship, I think they took almost 50 days off because they didn't play a conference championship game, and they were done like the last week of November. They didn't play in the Natty until second week of January. So those kind of time lapses have been something that coaches have had to battle a lot over the past couple of years, and especially is kind of changing from that because they're going to the playoff model now. But I found it interesting that you have certain teams like staff advantage is something that's huge here. Texas Tech, and this is the whole crux of the reason why I picked this deep thought. They didn't do much contact at all during their 26 days off. They want to stay as healthy and fresh as possible. And they, from what I read, they didn't even tackle, not once while they were off, in practice. Just kind of hard to believe that you wouldn't do that in football. Lucky enough for them, I don't think that problem showed up. But there was a physicality issue on offense that clearly showed up for them, that they could not handle what Oregon was able to bring to the table. Coaches got to find better ways to navigate this stuff. And it's an interesting conversation to me because, like, even Kirby came out about it. If you go listen to his press conference before the Sugar Bowl, reporters asked him, like, hey, have you done anything different with your model of preparation this year, the different times off, trying to get a different result from what you did last year? And he said, well, we'll talk to some guys, and you really talk to everybody that like offer you any kind of opinion, just see what they do, especially people who have been successful. I mean, even friends in the NFL. But when I assume he's talking about Todd Monken there, I don't know why he'd listen to him on his playoff preparation notes. But he said, I'm going to implement what I think would actually help the team, and whatever I don't, we're not going to damn do. And Georgia Kirby's got the second most playoff wins in its history. However, they've gotten bounced the last 2 years in the first round, so even he has struggled with it. I just think that even if you have your learning steps going through this thing, college football so ever changing, and the player dynamic of all this other stuff going on behind the scenes, deal with the holidays and this, that, and the other, it's a tough life to get your team ready for a playoff game, no matter how you shake it. And it really more so is a testament to what Pete Golden's doing with Ole Miss, because man, oh man, it is nothing but a turnstile coming in and out of that door, and they're able to still piece this thing together, and they're playing about as hot as they've played all season long right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Ole Miss, you think about it, they've beat every team they've played this yeyear.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, so did Georgia.
So is Georgia. All right. Well, that will wrap up episode 42. Good to be back after a week-long break.
I say one quick stat I just saw on Twitter, and I think it's interesting. So Sauce Gardner was 1-7 on the New York Jets, then got traded to the Colts and went 1-7 on the Colts.
They traded 2 first-round picks for that
guy. Tough.
That was a debacle. That should have been somebody's deep thought as well. The Indianapolis Colts. Go back to October.
Many close games, too. At the end, that thing fell apart quick. Daniel Jones broke his leg, and even Phillip Rivers had him competitive, but man, they just Jonathan Taylor guy.
Yep. Well, we will be back in a couple days to talk about the college football playoff semifinals, NFL wildcard round weekend, and more. Thanks for listening. Make sure you follow on the socials. Deep shout out.